Hey Ruchit, very nice job writing this essay. Let's get right into your video correction to see what you wrote. Okay, the topic is globalization, international marketing. So let's see what you have to say. In the present times, globalization has spread across all the countries and has become more normative. Although widely accepted, the marketing of international commodities is at times perceived, careful with your spelling here, right here, is perceived intrusive to the local market and as an innovation to a nation. In my opinion, the international marketing, alright, you don't need the here because it's an abstract topic. You could talk about it without a the. So in my opinion, international marketing is essential for a nation to mark its footprint as a global economy. And in this essay, we will discuss both the points. Okay, so because you're not a group of people, you're just one person. I will discuss both the points, plural, and counterpoints, also plural. Okay. Firstly, considering the point where the notion of marketing of international goods is seen as invasive. Now here, this is not a full sentence, so you need to either recreate the syntax, you need to redesign it, or you have to somehow connect it to the next sentence. So, one way you could create this as its own kind of individual sentence is like this. First, the point where the notion of marketing of international goods is seen as invasive must be considered. Now, if you had said something like that, you would have been fine, okay? And the sentence would have been able to stand on its own. So, the reason for such a view is because the companies that opt for international business are usually well established in the first place, hence they are in the international forum. This poses a serious threat to the organization in a country which mainly has its presence in the national market, or lesser, as they have to compete against an international brand to survive nationally. Here, what I really want is an example. So, like maybe you should cite an example of a local company, like for example, a local cola company that would be hard-pressed to compete against a giant like Coca-Cola. Okay, so in other words, tell me what you mean. Don't just tell me theoretically, but in terms of like an actual example. Who are you talking about? Give it to me in like in a tangible way, okay? Thus, the manufacturers of such products, you can't say manufacturer of organization, so it has to be the manufacturers of such products take a hit, because it's manufacturers take, and in turn, this hit, in other words, affects the nation as a whole. So do you see how just a couple of little extra elements really tie the whole idea together? Okay. The counterpoint argument states international marketing as a necessity, as it has several benefits. Okay, so really you have to be very careful here because you have this as construction, but the way you have written it is a little unclear. So there are a couple of different ways you could have used this here. You could have said, the counterpoint argument, and as one word here, counterpoint, states international marketing is a necessity, careful with your spelling, as it has several benefits. Okay? That's one of the ways you could have done this. That makes it more clear. Then, the reason for this. And then when you do this, you don't have to repeat the word necessity, which you again spelled wrong, but it's also an example of cohesion, because it ties back to this word, okay? So it's cohesion within the sentences, or rather between the sentences, without these kind of clunky cohesive devices. So moving on. The reason for this is that it helps the national brands to, you don't mean upscale. Upscale is an adjective, it's not a verb, so you need a different verb here, which means to develop, to improve, to lift themselves, to somehow expand, exceed, something that implies some sort of positive upward motion. okay, in order to remain in competition. Full stop here. This, again, you want some sort of derivative of this word. So this improvement would also help the local brands to make a footprint in the internal market, thus, without the as, thus enhancing the nation's economy. Also, allowing international marketing would expose a nation to the economic models used by international brands and also a nation's culture, apostrophe S here. Full stop. Ideas reflected in the brand, which in turn, two words, will also help a nation. Okay, you've got this comma here, okay? So my first thought is to make this its own sentence, but on its own, it's a fragment. So connected to the previous sentence, it doesn't work. And on its own, it doesn't work. So essentially, there's something missing here. It's neither a clause for it to stand on its own, but it also needs some sort of a linker, something happening here to connect these ideas. So, having discussed both sides, in my opinion, the latter proves to be more effective as the advantages and perks available as a consequence of allowing international marketing are greater. Why? Because basically this as means because. So let's pretend that you wrote here because instead. It would be because the advantages and perks available as a consequence of allowing international marketing. So something's missing. A verb is missing. Are better, are greater, are more important. Okay? I would not have created two separate paragraphs. These absolutely belong together. So get rid of this empty space and then say, in conclusion, we could say there will always be pros and cons. You don't need a period here or here to anything. And in our scenario, the acceptance of international marketing clearly outweighs the other viewpoint. And then you're done. Okay, so there were some nice elements here, but there were enough areas of confusion or just sort of grammatical error or lexical error that it does need to be discussed. So what you need to do now is correct these essays, taking into account the corrections in this video that you've heard today. I would love to see more of these essays, really, because when you get feedback from an IELTS professional, it's the best way to improve, so you can hear how you can hear basically what is strong in your essay and what is weak. So I hope I get to see some more of your essays in the future, whether it's in this form through an essay correction, or if you decide to take the online course where you can get lots and lots of support. No matter what you choose, I do hope you will continue to write and get feedback for your essays. So best of luck to you, and I really look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.